Hello, YouTubers. Those of you who have not fallen away from me anyway. And anybody else who cares to join. Joe Kersey here on Friday, Black Friday, after Thanksgiving, November 23rd, 2018, at 13:50 in the afternoon Eastern Time. God bless us, everyone. Today I happen to be having a Great Lakes Brewing Company Burning River Pale Ale. Thomas brought up a 6-pack of those on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, since apparently his school had Wednesday off, or there was some mishmash of parent-teacher conference, trade-off times, or this and that allowed him and Carter to be off on Wednesday afternoon, and so he and Carter came out, which was delightful. I hadn't seen Carter since January 5th this year. God bless us all. He brought this huge iPad with him, and which is okay because I have a long charging cable, which he could sit and charge this thing and do whatever. Thomas says, dude, you've got pretty much all your apps open on this thing all the time. I don't know how if Apple would bring out an iPad-like thing, which would be perfect for traveling, and that did not use iOS, that actually used the actual, OS X or Mac OS now, as they call it, operating system, I might actually buy one of those things. But I'm not going to buy anything that has iOS on it. If I have to buy another iPhone, I might. I hope this one I have. I hope where's my bad boy here? I hope this fellow lasts. I know the SC's been discontinued, so I'll have to use that one until it drops, I guess. So Thomas and I chatted about a couple of hours, about 2.5 hours. It seems that now he's either closing on the house on Monday, or he has closed on the house last Monday, the condo. So it either is already off his chest or will surely be off his chest about, well, it had to have been because he told me about the closing meeting, where he saw the closing statement, which, really made him crap his pants. But he said afterwards, it's all, as far as he's concerned, it's all found money. It's money he never had before. So, more than a lot of people ever have. And he was asking $167,000 for this thing, which is a fair market price. I mean, that was what the real estate people recommended for that area, and and the condos in that area do bring that sometimes. But these guys that come in and make offers, they know you're selling out of an estate, so they're going to lowball you. Because they know by the time you're actually getting ready to sell a property, you've had to horse around with it, and you're tired of it, which was the case. I think over the last few weeks and months, you've heard me talk about the problems he's had with the water leaks and things. It's one little problem after another's turned up, and he's little bits of procedural fires he's had to put out. No actual fires, thank God. But so a guy comes in and offers $150,000. I think he made a counter offer, and the guy just said $150,000. Take it or leave it. So he took it, but then in negotiating the sales contract, now I don't know whether he was presented with like a fait accompli sales contract, or like really, really, really take it or leave it, or you could negotiate the terms in terms of who paid what, and So he came up, he says to me, he says, well, he had, now obviously he had bought this house that he's in now, and he had to have seen a closing statement that included like so-called closing costs. But maybe the seller ended up paying all the closing costs when he bought his house, or Ian Kelly's house. It's him and Kelly's house, more properly, since I'm speaking English. And okay, well, anyway, he was surprised at the size. Of course, the real estate agents' commissions come out, and Columbus at 6%. Some areas at 7%. And there were two agents, so they split it 3 and 3. And so he was ending up paying the buyer's commission as well as the seller's commission. And then there were all the usual add-on bullshit closing fees, like, application fee and copying fee and title search fee and this and that fee and title. Well, you want title insurance, particularly when it's coming out of an estate, and particularly when it's in a condo setting. I mean, you gotta have title insurance. I mean, but at least the title agency wasn't raping them on a fee for using their conference room to go in there and sign papers, which some of them will do. They'll charge you like a $500 fee for that. Like you go in, you make some copies. They give you a couple cups of coffee, and it's like $500. Bullshit. So he didn't get screwed as much on that as he could have been. But anyway, so it was like, so it was like $9,000 closing costs or real estate brokerage fees, and then the nickel and dime stuff from title this, title that, this and that. And then, okay, so I guess there was about $13,000 left to pay off on his mother's mortgage, because she had basically almost paid the whole thing off. And so he walked out of there with around $112,000. But as he said, it's $112,000 I didn't have before. So, I mean, that's, well, I'm sure he's going to make wise decisions about what he does with that. Yeah. I mean, you can properly managed or invested without even being managed, you can generate a nice little income off that. So even right now in today's interest rate environment, you can generate $3,500 off that. So who doesn't want an extra $3,500 a year income? Really, think about it. Time and change. So she's now he can officially close the estate and be completely shed of that. Till it happens with me. Hopefully that's not going to be for a while. I feel pretty good today. It may not be for a while. So, last night, Liz invited me over. She actually came over on, she actually came over on Wednesday evening after Thomas left. And we chatted a bit. And she says, no, she'd come over on Tuesday. Or she'd called and said, you want to come over on Thanksgiving? Anyway, I went over on Thanksgiving, and I thought, well, should I text her and find out when she wants me to come? I thought, no, she'll let me know. And sure enough, she texted me around 4, somewhere in there, or maybe 1:30. I mean, because for some reason her texts never set off the ding bell on my phone. Tony Ballman's, texts make my phone ding. Hers don't. And I've tried to reset those things in the settings. I can't. Anyway. So it was going to be like 5:30, and so I'd gotten home. It was cold, so I was going to walk over, and it's not that far, but still, it's cold. You don't want to. And I had my puffy, poncho liner, military poncho liner thing, and so I was all warmed up and ready to go, and I had my big neck warmer. You've seen my neck warmer, the black neck warmer. I thought I'd wear just my standard, Liberty Creek Farms ball hat rather than my wool thing. And so she calls me just as my hand was on the door to leave. And she says, we won't be back till about 20 minutes from now. I said, okay. So I went back and did some more stuff. Also, for like 7 minutes later, she says, we're home. I said, okay, I'll be over. And it was a very nice evening. She says it's a very eclectic Thanksgiving dinner, which for me is the best type. I mean, she had some sort of turkey breast, which I didn't even have any of. Although it didn't look like your standard, really dry, crappy turkey breast thing that you usually see. But what did happen was Henry was cooking steaks. Well, that couple of years back, 3 years back, that would have been a dreaded statement for me to hear. Because I knew it was going to be nothing but dried crap. Dried, overcooked crap. But no, he has learned how to cook meat. Both for me and for Liz. And we have diametrically different preferences in how meat should be cooked. Well, at least meat that we're going to eat should be cooked. It's not a moral issue. You can cook meat anywhere you want, but, you can't cook meat any way you want if you're going to feed it to meat. Or to Liz, for that matter. And this was the biggest piece of single meat I've eaten in probably, easily 10, 12 years. I mean, this was a huge plate full of great, fatty steak. It wasn't one of these things where some yuppie had trimmed off all the fat on the edge. No. You had the fat inside the steak. You had the fat on the edges of the steak. You had the fat lurking on the outside of the bones of the steak. This was perfect. This was the way it used to be. This was the way I grew up. None of this, oh, my cholesterol, oh, my heart, no! This was real food that real people could eat. I loved it. It took me a long time to get the whole thing down, but I did it. And it was great. So I hit a plateau, and I waited about 15 minutes, and then I finished the rest of it, and it was great. Thanks, Liz and Henry. Thanks, Cal, that died for us. Well, of course, as always, lots of confidential, fun stories were told, which I can't go into. Oh, but boy, I would love to get my hands on one of the documents that they were talking about. But I don't think that's going to happen. This isn't anything, like top secret. It would just be awkward. Liz is taking care of a neighbor who actually is 12 miles north of us. So it's not really a neighbor, is it? It's a friend of hers. They have this cat that they really, really, really like. And they were gone for like, I don't know, 8 days or something. Anyway, so she's up there sort of like quasi house/cat sitting. And she goes up there and spends the night with the cat. Anyway, I've had Liz's dogs over for the night a couple times over the years. Well, more than a couple times. Not this current dog, Lucy. Lucy was pretty. She wasn't standoffish to me, but she wasn't nearly as insistent as far as wanting me to interact with her. But she was very happy when she came over for me to interact with her. Lucy's a sweet soul. Lucy's getting older. I think Lucy was just tired. She looked tired. You know how a dog looks tired? Lucy looked tired. So 6:30, 6:30 yesterday morning. I keep my phone next to my bed when I sleep, and it goes ding. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And I was reading. I had awakened early because I was actually hurting that morning. I haven't hurt at all today to speak of. Anyway, I was hurting yesterday morning, and so I'd awakened early, and I'd taken some aspirin. I'd gone to lay back down, and I thought, I'll read my Jeremy McCullough Cromwell book for a while, and I was doing that, and ding! I thought I really don't want to reposition this book in my glasses. And but yeah, of course, inevitably you look, don't you? You look. Who's trying to? Because it's like if the phone had rung, well, I would have probably looked because if somebody's going to call you that early, it's generally something important. I can't imagine a Medicare Advantage plan calling me at 6:30 in the morning. Maybe they ought to start doing that. They'd probably get people to actually answer. Well, and if they got them to get out of bed and fall down on the way to the phone, they could probably sell them a lot more plans. Oh, I don't know. There's probably some sort of time. You have a waiting period or something. But it was Tony Ballman. He was in Seattle. I guess they finally apparently decided to sell their house, sell the house. Tony decided to sell the house in Seattle rather than rent it out because they just didn't get enough interest, over the last 4 or 5 months for that. And he just wants to be shed of it and be able to go live in the gravel pit down in Tucson. And so forth. And he had spent 9 days up in the Seattle area. Of course, he connected with some friends, and the friends had moved to a new house on one of these islands out there in the ocean. High enough apparently up that if the great tidal wave happens, unless of course the island sinks into the sea, they should be okay. It's very pretty. He sent me a lot of pictures. And he had a good time. And of course, when he was calling me, he called me at his time. Remember, when he called me, it was around 4 in the morning, his time. And he's been sleeping downstairs like in a sleeping bag. He doesn't want to disturb any of the other rooms. And he says these rats are running around. He told me a couple of rat dispatching stories, which, of course, the two of us feed on each other. We got laughing and being foolish, as one does when Joe Kersey and Tony Bowman talk. And he had a couple other little minor repairs to do. Before he went out to the airport, I guess his flight left at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, his time. He sent me a picture from the airport when I was over at Liz's. I haven't heard anything. Generally, we Skype on Friday afternoons. I'm going to wait a bit. Maybe 5 or 6 we'll Skype. A bit on Fridays, which makes about 3 o'clock his time. I don't know. Arizona's so strange. And I can't keep the time zones straight out there. Well, why should I? I don't live there. Well, just courtesy issue. Okay. Well, so that was I've had these little unexpected treats here. That's great. And now I guess Liz says she's going to bring over some beer and some actual food tonight. Hope she stays and shoots the shit a bit. But I'll fire up I'll even fire up the candles and the lantern for her. I need to go out to the truck and get her I have another box of Chardonnay out there for her. And I need to bring in some stuff for me too. But I guess Thomas and Carter the plan is that at some point they'll come out on Sunday afternoon and Carter will get to shoot the pellet gun for the first time. So I hope the rain has stopped by then, and so we can do it off the back deck. If not, we can do it in the front driveway up toward those, the trees. I mean, you've seen my driveway. We can do it quite safely up toward up the hill there, in the front driveway. I know he's had a little bit of shooting instruction, but not with anything that actually puts out a projectile. His dad's always emphasized you can't use whatever looks like a toy gun as, it's like you never point anything that looks like a gun at anybody. And you never have your finger in the trigger area unless you're... Now, of course, I think he's done some paintball stuff with his buddies. So I'll be interested to see how this, as the grandfather, who sort of probably knows the most about shooting. We'll see. Yeah, safety first. Gun safety first. Obviously, all the time. All the time. Never pointed at anything you don't intend to damage or kill, and you never put your finger in the trigger unless you're getting ready to fire. Get those two down, and then of course, never point any sort of gun at somebody unless you intend to injure them, harm them, kill them. And never assume a gun is unloaded. You always check. You always check. You always check whenever you're handed a gun. You always check and open the action and look. Those are the three biggies. Four biggies. Yeah. Those are the things, if you get those things down really, really early and ingrain them in somebody, then even if you're drunk as crap, you'll remember them. Even if you're drunk as crap, you remember them. You can do all sorts of other dumbass things when you're drunk, but you never violate those rules. Unless you do it deliberately. Well, there, I think, see what happens when I don't feel like hell? I'd start talking to y'all. So I'll say bye-bye, YouTube.